Welcome to the lunation situation. We find ourselves at the full moon in Sagittarius, occurring May 23rd at 2 degrees and 54 minutes of Sagittarius, or in simple terms, 3 degrees of Sagittarius, right at the beginning. Now that's interesting. First of all, a full moon is a completion of a cycle, of at least a 6-month cycle that actually started on December 12th of 2023, so last year. Between December 12th and today, May 23rd, there is a cycle that you have completed in the Sagittarius sign. And you can look at where that was in your chart. What house does Sagittarius for you play out? Especially, I guess, now around 3 degrees of Sagittarius, because that is something we are completing. Full moon means full circle, an ending, possibly a harvest moment, celebration moment. Generally, we feel inclined to party, have more fun, and let loose around a full moon. So it's certainly also a full circle moment in the sense that you can reap your fruits from that last 6-month labor that you did in the Sagittarius house, or houses for some people. A full moon also means a revelation point, right? Because the sun is shining fully and bright on the moon. So something is being seen, something from the depth, out of the dark, is now being faced and understood, hopefully. So things might come up, things might bubble up. Full moons can also be very emotional. So yeah, the Sagittarius sign that it occurs in is generally a very optimistic sign. It's ruled by Jupiter, so it tends to have a more of a carefree attitude, inclined to have joy and to follow that passion of joy. Sagittarius is known for being adventurous, for, seeking discovery, exploration, exploring the world, cultures, languages. It loves to learn. This is about higher wisdom, higher education as well. And that can be in the form of like studying, university, or that, but it can also be just roaming around the world and learning from that journey as well. It's about following your inspiration, feeling inspired, and also inspiring others. It is known to be the teacher of the zodiac, so it loves to share what it has learned. It loves to play this mentor role, this support, helping you discover more on this journey. So this is also about the bigger picture of life and expanding your horizon, also in the sense of faith, religion, and also non-religiously in the sense of philosophy. So asking questions about life, wanting to learn more and understand more about life. And I would definitely say that Sagittarius is about perspective. So, as it is a mutable sign, perspectives change. And when your perspective changes, everything changes. So that's really interesting to explore the perspectives you have had and how your perspective has changed in certain moments, in certain years, and how that has changed the story. And changing your perspective leads the way to the second mutable sign in the zodiac after Sagittarius, which is Pisces. So where, you embark on even more higher wisdom, more forgiveness and faith. The change of perspective that Sagittarius gives opens that path for the Piscean perspective, which is the highest perspective in the zodiac. And ultimately, they are both ruled by Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius currently. So it's about guiding yourself, stimulating, and seeking, following your wanderlust. Ultimately, break away from dogmas and fixed patterns and fixed perspectives to freedom and to find more autonomy in your own journey. So it also opens the way for liberation. And how is found in the Sagittarius energy. So the road to liberation is through roaming around, following your passion, the desire, the curiosity that leads your way to see more, to learn more, to take it in, to have more of an open view. And all these things help you to shift your perspective and ask questions that you're interested in and try to answer them. Is how you also discover more of your individual sense of self, and that ultimately is of benefit for everybody. And that's how you can not only liberate yourself and teach, but also teach others how to liberate themselves. The Sagittarius is where it all starts, that liberation journey that continues on in the other signs after, Capricorn, but ultimately at Aquarius. The Sagittarius energy just does everything in a very fun-loving way. Might be a bit of the Pollyanna energy of the zodiac, but it is about upliftment and the joys. It's the fire sign, right? It's the last fire sign. So it's definitely about passion, inspiration, joys, independence, and upliftment. So with Sagittarius, you can always ask yourself what lifts you up, what inspires you, and to always follow that passion, because it will lead to that wisdom that it cares so much for. And in a way, Sagittarius is often seen as the truth seeker, and that applies. It's the discovery of everything, and especially yourself and the self related to all there is. And if Sagittarius goes wrong, it goes into the dogmas and sort of fixed paradigms. But when it goes the higher road, the road that it's supposed to, then it's a enjoyable, uplifting experience of growth, of adventure that changes your perspective so that you can take in more. So Sagittarius gives us the optimism that we need in our lives, especially to move forward, and the enthusiasm one needs to explore, right? To get out of your shell and out of your comfort zone and seek new visions, seek new environments, seek new thoughts, seek new information, and process all of that. And true process of all that often leads to sharing with other people. It's why Sagittarius is also about publishing, sharing your information, right? That teachership element can also be mentorship, coaching, and there's also the law element about Sagittarius as well. Justice, and I guess more on a spiritual level, on an energetic level of justice, that ties into the element of faith and belief that Sagittarius is also about. So this is also definitely like, what do you believe in? And how significant also the element of faith is, that takes you along that soul journey, that again, with the second mutable sign after this, Pisces, is where it goes to the next level. So what Sagittarius is excellent about is letting your spirit guide you, letting the faith guide you with optimism and joy, to let sort of your soul guide you. And that's how you find yourself at strange places and perhaps, courageous passions that you wouldn't follow without all that passion. So it's about being a free spirit, a wanderer, a gypsy energy that we may surely feel strongly around this full moon in Sagittarius. When we look at the chart, a lot is going on. First of all, let me just state a few aspects, right? That's the geometrical patterns sort of in the chart. First of all, a full moon always means an opposition with the moon, with the sun. So the sun is always opposite, right? That's why we see a full shiny moon. Well, this is already interesting because it's very busy around the sun. The sun is obviously then on the opposition, means Gemini. So the sun is busy with a party of Jupiter, its ruler, the ruler of the moon, Sagittarius, right together at the same degree in almost the same minute, 29 degrees of Taurus, with Venus. So Jupiter, Venus, and the sun are together right opposite the moon. I'm going to unpack that a little bit later, and there's also Sedna right there. So that's a big party right opposite the moon, and an opposition is stressful. It's a tug of war between two energies. The other aspect that's very significant that the moon is making is a sextile to Pluto, who is at 2 degrees as well, but of Aquarius. Pluto is in retrograde, so the energy is a little bit different. It's a little bit shifted. So the planet of transformation, of death and regeneration, of delving deep and bringing out the gunk of your subconscious mind, is in a reflective mode. So in a way, it is about introspection, and the journey in Aquarius, which is the second time it has entered Aquarius. And now slowly, because of the retrograde, it is going to exit Aquarius for the second time, I think. So it's quite a reflective journey, because this is a massive change of more than 200-year cycle. So moving into Aquarius for all of us is the push to really move forward strongly into new energies, new realizations, and just an immense energy of trying to propel us forward, but not without going deep within and deep down. And that's the phase that Pluto is in, so it's going deeper down. So again, as it's related to this full moon, and as I said, full moons are about revelations. This is about realizing some stuff that's related to this moon energy of Sagittarius, you know, of discovery, of inspiration, of perspectives, that there are thoughts and ideas and concepts about yourself that need to shift with you. So this is where you also, as I said, these are both very much about freedom, Sagittarius and Aquarius. So I guess it's where they work together, and it is meant for all of us to not just roam around to seek freedom, but to do it intelligently and to change our thoughts and ideas more structurally. The perspective change is deep, and the desire for freedom and liberation is strong. 2 degrees for me is a Taurus degree. That means it's about a shift in ideas and concept of liberation regarding finances, housing, security, self-value, and also the relationship to the environment around you, to nature. And as Sagittarius is the philosophy energy, this is about answering those questions about value, which means you have to, by now, because we've had a very strong journey through Taurus for a couple of years, to get straight about what matters to you, what is of absolute value, what is essential and enjoyable, pleasurable, absolutely necessary. What is that in your life? And to be very clear about it and to demand it on a spiritual level, like being ready for that truth, that essential, absolutely necessary reality for you. And even though it's about the basic reality of life, the practical, physical aspect that you can touch, that's tangible, it's related about your authentic nature as a spirit. So more into the soul perspective, and tied together with a deep faith. The moon is also making a trine to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. I've made a video about 29 degrees of Neptune that I highly recommend you to watch. It's from my astrology course of this year, 2024. So this is an energy we're working with for the coming 4 months. Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. This is a huge energy that you should be aware of, because it has a lot of consequences. And if you're not aware, that Neptunian energy will just knock you off your socks. So this trine from the moon to that critical energy that Neptune is at, being a full moon as well, obviously this is about removal and endings. This could be ending of a soul contract, a certain reality that you were living in, playing around with, that is now done with this lunation. And that applies, I suppose, especially for people who have something around 2, 3, 4, or 1 degrees of Sagittarius, and around, let's say, 27, 28, 29 degrees of Pisces, and even 1 or 2 degrees of Aries. So if you have anything around that, this removal and ending story applies stronger for you. But it could also mean, definitely collectively, because full moons, all lunations affect everybody strongly. So the collective mood here is also an ending to how we thought about things. An ending to a faith element. This is where either a lot of people are done with a form of religion. Yeah, somehow a form of religion is just done. Yeah, so watch out for religious related stuff. Neptune is also about water and the ocean, the sea, and anything related to that, right? So also sea animals, fire and water is a boiling energy, so it's hot waters. Even though it's a trine, so it's good, right? Normally, it's about harmony. I think it's related to seeing, sight. And then the Sagittarius is about seeking, right? In a Taurus degree, so it's definitely about the 5 senses, such as sight. I think either we're going to see a little bit more into our reality that we didn't possess before. But I wouldn't trust it, because that's what Neptune is about. It's about being deceived and like illusions and fantasies. And it's really hard to make any form of discernment, because that's what Neptune is about. It is about the unclarity. It's about the fogginess. So Neptune being here, it's just, you might not know and differentiate lies from truth. So even though it's a trine and all that, I would be wary. I would be wary as long as Neptune is at 29 degrees and in direct motion. When Neptune goes retrograde, this is when the truth can come out more. I think it goes retrograde July 2nd. So that's 1.5 months from this lunation on. 1.5 months, we're going to be fed a lot of lies. And your faith will be tested. And you will not know the difference between truth and false, and, good opportunities and complete deceivement. Between romance and bullshit and all that. So you have to be careful. But I hope with this trine of the moon and this Neptune, I hope it's not necessarily negative. I hope that in a higher from a higher perspective, it leads you to have more faith, to correct your beliefs, and to tap into the intuition, because I think it gives a lot. The truth lies in your intuition. But it will be very challenging because Neptune at 29 degrees might feel like you are out of touch with everything, and a huge desire for escapism. I think maybe that's where the Sagittarius comes in. The desire to escape and to take off and to wander. And maybe, you know what, maybe that is the best thing you can do right now. So honestly, if you can take a holiday, be careful with everything, but maybe that will give you the most of the benefits. And yeah, back to the main issue, a full moon being in opposition with the sun. There's that big party there in Gemini, well, at the end of Taurus as well. So let's unpack that. First of all, this lunation is related to something we don't hear a lot about in astrology, but related to Sedna entering Gemini. And she has entered Gemini since April of this year for the second time, and now for good. She's going to stay in Gemini. This is big. This shift of energy is big because Sedna is a trans-Neptunian object. Means that she lives beyond Neptune. And that means it's very far away from us. So it's the outskirts of our solar system. And she orbits the sun like 11,500 years approximately. So it's been that long since she was in Gemini before. That suddenly takes me somewhere a little bit deep. 11,500 years ago approximately is thought to be the time of Atlantis. And Atlantis was very much about water. And Sedna is too. Sedna is sort of the female equivalent of Neptune. In that she rules over water, ocean, the sea. She's a sea goddess, and she rules over marine life, and is as well, you know, the protector of nature and humanity. But works through the sea. And it's important to understand that the sea, the depth of sea and the depth of an ocean is about the depth of mind and the depth of your subconscious. So anything between, anything beyond or beneath the conscious. So it's about stuff you're not aware about. But, you know, as science says, 95% of our decisions is based upon what guides us beneath in the subconscious. And most of us are not aware of it. That's the whole issue. It is below consciousness. It's not understood. But the problem is that if it stays that way, if you do not know what's in the subconscious of yourself, what's guiding most of your decisions, then you lack a lot of autonomy over your own situation. And it means that you're making a lot of automatic decisions based upon what's stuffed in that subconscious. And often that is led by trauma, triggers of trauma, the remembrance of the trauma and the emotions that is attached to it that drives a lot of your decisions. As well as, karma, in the sense of unresolved energetic issues that plays a part in the subconscious, and that can easily be karma that's inherited. And this is also scientific because trauma is written into your DNA and therefore passed on into future generations. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you went through, but perhaps it's your grandfather. And this is why specifically topics such as slavery has a huge impact, because it's not about only the people that have lived it, but because it's passed on through DNA. That trauma is lived on. And it can base decisions you make in your own life. And, without knowing, we just often repeat our hurt, or maybe not even the hurt that is ours, but we repeat the hurt that's written in the DNA. So the sea is a metaphor for the depth that is written in the subconscious field. And I feel that Sedna, being the sea goddess, definitely represents that. And just like Neptune, there are similar topics. That Sedna is about isolation, about sacrifice, and that depth of spirit. The myth of Sedna propels a question. And the myth, just in very basic elements, she is deceived into a partner that is not who he claims to be. And this is again that, that Neptunian watery symbology of deception, right? The play of illusions, the dream, the Maya. So she's on a boat with her father, and the situation goes awry, and the father decides to throw her off board and sacrifice her for his own well-being, right? And she's propelled into the sea, the depth of emotions that water represents, and also the depth of the subconscious mind, where a lot of issues are imprinted as patterns, as stories that repeat and recreate. So she's thrown off into that depth. And interestingly, she gets comfortable in that depth. She gets comfortable in her emotions, and she thrives in the depth of the ocean and becomes the sea goddess, right? Sort of like the twisted Ariel story where, you know, Ariel wants to go above the sea. And that's interesting because that means going from the depth of your subconscious where it's unknown into the conscious. So that's the metaphor there. But with Sedna, it's about being comfortable in the subconscious and thriving in that very deep field. With Sedna being there and thriving in the depth of herself, ultimately means that she gets comfortable in her emotions, in understanding what's so deep within, and it gives her autonomy over her life, something she didn't have above the water, and agency and power. And she understood to coexist with her environment and to thrive where she was at. And this is kind of a metaphor for really deep healing. You may have heard of terms as the dark night of the soul and, you know, shadow work, where at a certain point in your healing journey, you're propelled into the very deep, like Sedna and Neptune in the depth of the sea. In that darkness, you find your own light. You find your own agency, because in the dark, you can navigate your subconscious mind and you can face the programs that have dictated your life, the issues and the traumas that have dictated your life, and many other programs and patterns that is within the subconscious, even related to ancestry, right? And even collective energy, such as cosmology and sort of like the Akashic records. It's a little bit deep, but in the subconscious field, you're connected to everything. And because of that, probably, because you're connected to everything, it's also why the sea is the representation of the divine, and why Pisces, and I guess Sedna in a feminine aspect, also represents divine connection, the connection to your spirit, and the need for intuitional strength to know truth. Because without intuition, I always say, you will not know what is true. And you also need that strong intuition to navigate the deep waters within. So again, Sedna is about sorrow, betrayal, deceit, but also forgiveness and autonomy and harmony with the environment around you. And it's about rising above the illusion, rising above the fake and the dream to ultimately free up your spirit. So with Sedna, there is a tendency to fall victim to your own vulnerability, to deceit and betrayal, And this applies to something that I've noticed as well, especially in the healing journey, that one can fall prey to naivety. So naivety, or naivete, is very dangerous. So Sedna calls us to stop being a victim. And when we fall into the depth of that sea, like Sedna, it's not because we are a victim. You have to go through the emotions and the sadness, yes, and the grief and all of that comes with it, with the loss of the old. But tumbling into the depth is where you find yourself. So in a way, it's a gift. As it's a dwarf planet about destiny, it's time to self-reflect and look back at your life and what is holding you back. And it's about living respectfully with your environment as well. And again, what are you sacrificing? Are you sacrificing yourself for something? Stop doing it and reflect from where it comes from. I love something that I read that is written by Melanie Reinhardt. And she says, when she talks about Sedna, that and this is related to going really deep into the subconscious mind, the sea that Sedna represents, right? She says that you have to acknowledge how bad things actually feel. And you have to start from there. This is what shadow work is about. This is what the subconscious healing process is about. So again, you acknowledge how bad things actually feel. You start from there. And it's about, says Melanie Reinhardt, and I agree, about radical acceptance. You have to accept how you feel. You have to accept what happened to you. You have to accept the situations that you've been in and have come out of. And you have to accept how that gave you power eventually. And if things have been bad and hurtful, then that is what was. And it needs to be accepted as such. So I think Sedna is interesting. That may be complicated for those who have not done a lot of healing work. With this lunation, Sedna is at the entrance, 0 degrees of Gemini, so right near the sun and opposite the moon. Close to the sun, it means that Sedna is very enlightened. We reach more consciousness, more awareness. We are seeing and seeing some of these deep issues in the ocean. That's literal, literal issues in the ocean and waters. But it's also cryptic and metaphorical in the sense that we see the issues that is deep within our subconscious mind. The patterns that block certain destined occurrences. The issues we need to face for a more healed life. And a more healed life means more agency, more autonomy over your own story. I guess this is where the free will element of life kicks in. When you become more aware, you have more you can really assert more free will. Otherwise, you're just living this pre-scripted, fated life until you take matters into your own hand and have more control, sort of, more decision, more neutrally said, more autonomy over your own life. So obviously in Gemini, the sun being there and also Sedna being there, it just means we're learning more, we're getting new information, our mind is opening up to that different perspective, to a bigger picture. The number of 2 is obviously also interesting, especially with Gemini being the sign of 2. The number 2 in Roman numerology, right? So Gemini is a twin, where everything comes in 2s. It also rules our hands. It sometimes also means that literally things are repeated because it comes in 2s, or it comes in pairs. And it also means duality. And duality means that we live in a oppositional reality, where dark and light, white and black, and love and hate, and good and bad, and right and left are, some of these oppositions, this duality. As we are entering the age of Aquarius, I think duality is something we are meant to overcome, or meant to harmonize and find an equilibrium within oppositions. And clearly, since it's about intelligence, the age of Aquarius, that Pluto, I feel, is ushering us into, means we need to quickly evolve our mind and the capacity that our mind has, because, as I said, scientists say that we only use 5% consciously and 95% unconsciously, right? So that is not a balance, right? That is a very stark opposition between little and a lot. So I think what Sedna is also trying to do is to make what has been unconscious or subconscious for a very long time, to drive it towards consciousness. So this is where we just receive a lot more information, a lot more what is going on within ourselves and around. Everything is connected, right? So simultaneously that's going to happen. So we're going to receive a lot of intel, and a lot of intelligence, a lot of information, a lot of concepts and ideas and awareness that is going to slowly pull that 95% lower, meaning our consciousness higher, so that we are more aware of ourselves and what is going on around us. So that's a quick Sedna influence that's going to play around in this lunation. And it also means, a lot of water issues might come up, or information around water. But what also is significant is that right around the sun in Sedna, we have Jupiter and Venus at 29 degrees of Taurus. And I'd say that's close to Alcyone, which is a fixed star, which is also about sight and, sometimes not being able to see so well. But, well, it's a critical degree, 29 degrees, right? So Venus represents finances, represents love and relationships, self-worth, even style, and it rules Taurus, so this is about a comfortable life. 29 degrees tells me there's something uncomfortable about the situation. Is there something we're not seeing? Is there a crisis regarding these Venusian topics of relationships and finances? But I would say that there is something we do need to see. So there is like, we're not seeing something tangible in life, but it is about opening the vision to more. And, you know, this is the last hurrah sort of for Jupiter in Taurus, because after this lunation, Jupiter is going to move into Gemini, you know, only like 3 days after. So with this lunation, also Jupiter, the ruler of this lunation, is wrapping up a little piece of a year that it has spent in Taurus, making these Taurian themes bigger, having this big conjunction with Uranus that is, you know, a start of a new 14-year story. Jupiter has made finances bigger, perhaps the worth of earthly life more expensive, more worthy. The prices of land and housing may have gone up. Stock markets, you know, valuable material. And maybe your investments have gone up with Jupiter in Taurus. But Jupiter is going to leave, and going into Gemini, we're going to have new big themes. So this is the last time, and as a lunation is wrapping up something, right? So is Jupiter. Jupiter is also wrapping up its energy here in Taurus. So yeah, I don't know, maybe either a big burst in the sense of growth, or a big deflation in the sense of, you know, something going down regarding financial issues. Or maybe this helps in the upliftment and the excitement that this lunation also promises. And as I said, it is occurring at 2 degrees, which is a Taurian degree. And interesting that, you know, its ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, the planet, is at the end of Taurus. So there is this related theme that maybe you are going to reap the fruit of some kind of investment. And maybe to find out what kind of investment, look at where 29 degrees of Taurus falls in your chart. That topic might bring a little gift for you. You know, Jupiter is the planet of fortune, blessings, of growth, of amplification, making something bigger. So maybe together with Venus, it's going to make you feel a little bit better about yourself. Like you were on this journey and you feel more worthy. And that worth, that upliftment, that new knowledge is going to take you on this new Jupiterian journey in Gemini with a different mindset. When you feel more worthy about yourself, there's definitely more you can do in life and reap even more fruits, right? So I do feel that there is something about self-love, faith, and return of investments But collectively, as I said, it could be something economical that either blows up or blows out. And it's something we need to look out for that 29 degrees of Taurus. That is a Leo degree. So it could also be gold prices going up, investments around that. Also, the Taurian theme is, you know, creativity that Leo also represents. So maybe there is like a creative endeavor that pays back, or there's a revelation, as this is a full moon, around that maybe you can bring in more creativity into your life, and that can uplift you. And this is about joy and pleasure. And yeah, I think this ties in with the Sagittarius concept of this lunation, that we are invited also to critically push more enjoyment and pleasure into our lives. And it seems that there is good reason to have a good time around this lunation. And, you know, there are so many relationships to either 29 degrees or 2 degrees, which is, you know, it's a Taurus degree or a Leo degree. And, you know, one is about new beginnings and one is about complete endings of a cycle. So I think you're going to feel both of that there is a massive ending and a closure to a big part of your journey that is about self-value, and that there is a new building of upliftment and adventure going on in your life, and perhaps this full moon is a taste of that. So, you know, happy full moon in Sagittarius. Enjoy your life and feel inspired, and help others feel inspired as well. So enjoy, and I will see you in the next lunation situation. Bye.